Hello everyone, welcome back to World of Tanks. This is Tactic Angel, and I am going to do something a little bit different today. I purchased this tank. This tank is the Deathstalker. What's that, you say? What is a Deathstalker? Well, apparently it's an M46 Patton. This tank is very similar to the KR that came out a little while ago. I like this tank a lot better just on the face of it because it looks nice. I was not a fan of the angry eyeballs and the tiger mouth and whatever. Okay, so maybe I should get into some useful information. What is this Deathstalker? So the Deathstalker is an M46 Patton. We get to play an M46 Patton in the game, but this is not the tech tree version. This is very similar to the Pershing, the Tier 8 American medium tank, which I would call sort of the C+ student of World of Tanks. It doesn't do anything very well, and it doesn't do anything very poorly either. The Pershing has at least some capacity to be a pretty good ridgeline warrior. So let's take a little look at this Pershing. As you notice, I've brought up a different tank. I no longer own this tank, so we're just looking at it in the garage. This is the Pershing. It looks a lot like the tank we were just looking at, except that it doesn't have the fancy camo. And the truth of the matter is that this tank is a lot like the tank that we were just looking at, with just a couple of differences actually. So we're switching over to the armor viewer. This is the armor profile for the Pershing. As you can see, the layout is, pretty decent. You're going to bounce some shots at Tier 8. The point is that when we switch over to this, the armor model for the Deathstalker, you can see that there's a few armor upgrades, particularly around that mantle. Going up to at least 191 armor, you got a pretty good chance of blocking a whole lot of stuff that you're going to face, including some Tier 10 shots every now and again. Now this helps to turn the already pretty decent ridgeline warrior of the Patton into a little bit more of a survivable warrior, and it seems to do so without actually picking up a lot of weaknesses. You still got that weak front machine gun port. Every once in a while somebody's going to clip the top of your turret or get through the upper or lower parts of your mantle, but that was going to happen on the Pershing anyway. So we're going to switch over and look a little bit at the armament of this. This is the top armament that you're going to be able to get on the tech tree Pershing. As we can see, you're going to be shooting 7.32 rounds per minute. You can make that a little bit better, obviously, with your crew skills and whatever equipment you want to load out. Penetration 190, premium 268. This is not the most amazing gun that you can find on a Tier 8 medium tank, and it's certainly not the worst. Sometime we should probably complain about the T-34 too. Jumping over to the Deathstalker, we see that we're also shooting a 90mm gun. We do lose 1/100th of a point on the accuracy. Not a big deal. I haven't had an issue with it. We do get a pretty significant boost in the rate of fire. We're up to 8.33. We get an additional 2 points of penetration on our standard rounds, which is pretty much a rounding error, and only 243 pen on the premium ammunition, which is a drop by 25 points. That's pretty noticeable, and that does make this tank a little less viable against tier 9 and tier 10 tanks, which it sees both of. But honestly, with all the stuff that you can do in this tank, I don't feel that that's too much to worry about. And I've had a lot of good games that kind of prove that, I think. Well, I might be getting ahead of myself. I am a fan of this tank. And I say that right at the beginning, before I kind of show what this tank can do. I always kind of liked the Pershing. It was a tank that was never really good at anything, but it was never bad at anything either. And as a medium tank driver, sometimes that's all you can ask. Anyway, this is the first of the replays. This is actually the second game that I'd ever played in this tank. You can see I've loaded up 45 AP, 20 APCR, and 5 high explosive, just on the outside chance that I think I'm ever going to use that. I'm actually not sure that I have ever shot that in the 20 or 30 games that I've played in this tank at this point. Anyway, from the armor model and looking at this familiar sort of player's view, those sandbags do not do anything for you. I know every time that I think about it, I'm like, wow, I wonder if maybe they're just a little bit of spaced armor, but we do not have the Centennial sandbags on this. They're going to shoot straight through those. The tracks that are bolted to the left side of the turret, which you really can't see as I'm driving around, those do count as 5mm, I think, of spaced armor. Not going to help you a whole lot because it's pretty much glued to the side of the turret, but you know, you can see a Death Star, and every last bit of armor counts. It's still going to kill you. Anyway, we rolled out here to the right. You can kind of start to see, this is with standard AP, shooting at the front of a Panther II. Front of a Panther II is not an incredibly highly armored target, but it's not a low armored target either. You can see that it's coming up orange. He gave me the side of his target, so that part was red. Who knows where that shot went. But for the most part, you can see that the shots are going more or less where you would expect them to go. The accuracy on this is not extreme, but it's not super terrible either. I do like the rate of fire, though. That the extra round per minute does make a little bit of a difference, and certainly it's nice to be able to kind of dictate the pace of an engagement if you have a little bit of cover. This tank does not have amazing lower front plate armor, and you really don't want to take too many more hits than you have to, because I find myself getting shot up at all sorts of angles. That was unfortunate. Bounced the shot off of probably the top of his back deck. That is a mistake that we will not repeat. We'll make sure that we get a little bit more of his hull before shooting. Lower front plate there. Going through the front of that tier 7 heavy tank with really no issues. accuracy is working out pretty well, in spite of it being .37 or .38. I don't recall which one it was at this point. Anyways, you can see we've done a pretty respectable job so far in helping to mop up the people on the northeast flank. We're rolling in towards the base. Ordinarily, Tactic Angel is a person who enjoys capping bases, but for whatever reason, I was feeling, I guess, greedy or, you know, magnanimous, maybe, and wanted to help everybody get all the XP they can. I'm not 100% sure where that came from immediately, but I'm pretty sure it came from the motion up there. We're hoping to swing in here behind this T-28 prototype. Not much of a shot there. I'm not actually trying to block other people's shots, but this becomes kind of a lot of people in a very small space. Everyone was very excited about ganging up on that tank, apparently. Anyway, we got 2 tanks left. These 2 tanks are actually, I believe, a Type 4 heavy and the Motion. Both of these tanks are tanks that you will normally struggle to penetrate with a lot of different sorts of vehicles. See there, we've shot into his tracks. It probably got eaten up. I'm not really sure exactly where the best place to shoot that tank is, but those shoulders usually work pretty well. I was waiting for them to swing around in just such a way. Don't want to ram myself into him because that would be kind of a bad use of my HP, because he would do damage to me and I would probably not to him. But there you go, auto aim for the win. Nice little victory. Now this should tell you a little bit something about the Deathstalker. Mastery badge 3834, damage with 1300 assisted. That's not a bad game for most tanks. Some tanks you can get a mastery on a lot less. So I don't think this is a severely underperforming tank, which is another reason why, if I were to make a suggestion, I would probably tell you that this isn't a bad purchase. For a second little exhibition, we're on Numahan. I don't know. The new Asian map. I still don't really know what to do with myself in this map, so that'll probably become apparent as you watch. I don't like to go into the city, and since I'm fairly certain that the one really standout quality of this tank is its ability to work a ridgeline, I don't want to go into a flat area to, you know, kind of trade HP. That's not a real good look for me. Gonna go up here, probably waste some time just shooting at tanks that are light tank buddies spot. A little bit of a blind shot there. Not a hit. It is sometimes sad uploading these videos when you miss tanks all the time. Anyway, it'll get a little bit more exciting in a bit, this is the opening posturing where everybody just shoots across the divide. I actually find that this happens a lot on this map, which is pretty unfortunate. And as much as I want to mind control people into maybe moving their tank into a place that I can shoot them, it rarely works. As you can see there, we're shooting at our almost clone brother over there, the Pershing. Doesn't quite get there. I don't know if shooting at, 550 meters, if this is a good indication of the kind of accuracy you can expect. You typically shoot at things a lot closer when it really matters. But anyway, we're shooting cheap shells at the enemy. Not a whole lot going on at this point. This is stat padding nonsense. It looks like we've got a guy coming close enough. He has not spotted me yet, which makes me think that he doesn't have a great crew, because as you can see, that maximum spotting ring is quite a bit a ways out there, and I am running with a 5 perk crew, I think, for most of this, working on my 6th. It's not a particularly stealthy crew, but it is 100%. We got 6th sense, repairs, and some other stuff going on. I think this is where we're going to start actually contributing to the map, or to the game. We finally gotten spotted, so that would be a pretty good indication that we should start moving and contributing. We're down 3-6, which is not super great. I'm thinking I'm going to go back here, but I think in a moment I'm going to have a second opinion. Am I? It's hard to say. There we go.
All our artillery has been destroyed.
So we got a bit of cover here. We know that there are 3 tanks out there looking to sweep in from the north. I've got my tank over-angled just on the odd just on the odd chance that they might shoot at me. Thankfully they haven't yet. That looked to be a beautiful little ammo rack of my Pershing brother down there. A pretty easy way to rack up some HP, or damage anyway, by all of a sudden doing like 2 or 3 times as much damage as you can normally do. Man, that's just terrible. Once again, some of the enemies have creeped up on me. You see kind of the nice gun depression here. I think you're looking at about -8 degrees. But obviously we can get our gun down there pretty well for a tier 8 tank. And we can go straight through the front of that tier 6 heavy with our standard shells. We are still shooting standard shells in this game. There we go. third kill of the game. I didn't really contribute much to that one except for the last shot. I don't remember this at all.
Target locked.
Once again, pretty good gun depression. That guy did not see me
They're knocked out.
until I shot.
Ready to fire.
Now we're pretty much in the final stages here. Some bad stuff is going on here in terms of the angles. I think I lost some sort of
Dropping target.
connection there because I remember being frustrated with how my tank drove there.
Target locked.
What are you gonna do?
Unit aboard. Unlocking target.
But that's the Churchill Tier 7 tank. We've bounced a couple of shells off of him now, so we're just going to cheese it to the end.
Loaded and ready.
And of course, as soon as I load expensive shells, he gives me the big, fat, juicy side of his tank. And that's that. 5 kills. Chances are pretty good that I will get out there first. As you can see, we're doing 40 pretty easily
Focus on this area.
along, you know, rolling terrain. We get into the mid 40s, occasional upper 40s. So this tank has a reasonable amount of mobility, which is a thing that I always liked about the Pershing. And it makes having sort of a lackluster gun more forgivable. It's not bad, it's just not super good, right?
Releasing target.
Well, that's disappointing. If I had scripted that out, I might not have said that at just the right time. But you know, it's got some armor, it's got a decent gun, it's got a decent ability to get around the battlefield. And that's kind of like the ultimate medium tank. And honestly, I might even say this tank is a little OP in terms of, you know, if you can use a Pershing well, this is a better tank than the Tech Tree tank. You got a little bit more rate of fire, which means you've got more opportunities to do damage. You got better armor on the turret. And you don't really sacrifice much in terms of speed or accuracy or anything. So anyway, we get our second mark of excellence. We're sitting at 35-16 in terms of total damage. Again, not super high, not super low. Here's our efficiency, so you can see just exactly what we did in this game. Overall, I gotta say, I would recommend this tank. I know a lot of people wouldn't, but